Welcome to Oraposium 26.0. Oraposium is an academic and clinical meeting that is brought to us by the Orapu organization, and I am sure that you are conversant with the organization. Orapu Inc. is an international, independent, oral, and public health information, education, and research organization that is incorporated in the Republic of the Gambia. And like you know, there are 10 entities, independent entities in the Orapu family. We have the Orapu School, where you could access fast and flexible oral and public health learning opportunities. There is the Orapu Journal, which is a journal of oral and public health. We have the Orapu Literature Reviews, which is a journal of oral and public health microtexts. We have the Orapu Community, which is the interface between the organization and the oral and public health stakeholders. And then there is the Orapu College of Scholars, which is a postgraduate college of oral and public health professionals. And then there is the Orapu Academic Repository, which is a repository of oral and public health documents. We have the Orapu Press that publishes and sells academic, oral, and public health books. And we have the Orapu Protocols, which is a journal of oral and public health methods, guidelines, and procedures. And then there is the Orapu Store that engages in general, oral, and public health merchandise. And last but not the least, there is Orapu Blog and News that engages blogging and news. So you are welcome to Oraposium 26.0. And today we are privileged to have a scholar in our midst in the person of Sabuda S. Adamu from the Division of Public Health at the Orapu College of Scholars. I'm sure that when he comes up, he may be able to tell us more about himself and his institutional affiliation. Please welcome to Oraposium 26.0.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sabuta Stephen Adamu. I am a registered dental therapist and also a member of the Orapu College of Scholars. Also undergoing my MSc program in public health. I work with Gombe State Hospital Service Management Board, Nigeria, and I serve as a senior dental therapist in the institution. Thank you. Today with me, I'll be talking on a topic of the overview of health research method. Next slide, please. Okay. Under my presentation today, I'll be talking on this presentation outlines. 1, my introduction. 2, overview of research method. 3, overview of health research method. 4, the types of health research method, the uses of health research method, conclusion, and references. Next slide, please. Introduction. Research is the systematic investigation into and study of materials and sources to establish fact and reach conclusion. Now, here is trying to tell us that he trying to make an inquiry of finding about an answer to a problem, and also trying to create new ideas and approaches on new items. that entails about research. Research is all has to do with finding, just like we've seen in the pictorial representation here. It has to do with what you analyze and you search and you do some other stuff when you come to research. And in also next slide, please. Now, in research, there are some key features which one need to observe when carrying out a research. Number one, one should have what? A clear statement of the problem. Now, when you're talking about the statement of the problem, one is talking about trying to pinpoint out what? The topic interest. Now, trying to describe and address what is going to be done in that research. Trying to talk about why that research is going to be conducted, because for someone to start conducting a research, he must have seen the problem why he want to conduct that research. Then number two is the research questions. Now, research questions, these are questions which address the research aim. These are questions which answers to what? To the problem of what? That research statement, that research of the statement problem that was pinpointed out to what? To address the research. Then three, which is the literature review. Now, the literature review is a review that has to do with trying to review an already uh, previous published works, what? To create more ideas and to create more findings, or trying to to develop your own findings. Now, literature review also give more insight to the reader to understand what actually that research topic is all about. Then four, you're talking about what? The sample selection. Now, when you're talking about the sample selection what involves sorting out groups that will actively participate in that research. If you are going to carry out a research in a certain location, you may not wish to go on with everybody there. So now trying to collect those kind of person that you wish to carry that research on is what? The sample selection. Then data collection. After you must have collected your samples, then you collect your data from that what? From that samples. And data collection involves what? Conducting the research as the design is being what? Being required. And in data collection, you make use of what? Instrument in collection of your what? Your data. Instrument like the questionnaires, you can use it by observation, you can use instrument by analyzing, you can use instrument by what? Experiment. It depends on the kind of research. So that determines the kind of what? The instrument you are going to use for your what? For your data collection. Then next on the features is what? The data analysis. And when you're talking about the data analysis, this is the crucial part of what? Any research. And this what involves what? Trying to interpret that result which you have what? You have got the data which you have gotten. It tells more of what you have found in that research. And what? It gives more understanding about what is the new discoveries and the idea and how you are going to solve that problem which you have in mind. Then next on my introduction, I'll talk on about health research. Now, health research is what? Is a systematic investigation to gain more information and understanding of what? Human health issues with the aim of what? Improving health. That is health research. In research, it's all about general. It could depend on what? Either any kind of field, but when it comes to health, it's specifically on human beings on how to improve the healthy lives of human beings. For example, when there was this COVID-19, now the research meant how to improve what? The life of people. That is the health research. Next slide, please. Now, next is what? The overview of what? Research. Now, here I'll be talking on it on basically on 4 points. First, I'll talk on what? The conception of what? Research project. Now, when you're talking about conception of research project, it's all about what? One, trying to form and formulate ideas. First, you need to know more and have an insight about what? The research of which you want to carry on before you start carrying out a research. You won't just go and start doing a research without having that ideas, without having more knowledge about that research. And to have a success of a research, one word has to it lies on you having an idea about that research. You can't have a success in research when you don't have idea, because the method and everything you're going to apply will do what? It will fail. Then next, on the overview of the research, what you develop a research topic. After one have gotten the ideas and have more understanding about the problem which he understood to be a problem to what? A health problem to the society, then he comes with a topic. Now, in a research topic should be what? It should be well defined, and it should be narrowed, and it should be something researchable. These are what things one should be considering when trying to develop what? A research topic. Then next is what? Review existing research evidence based related to the topic. Here is talking about what? More of trying to, which is part of what? The literature review. Whereby one want you make a write up, make more uh, discuss more relevant topics that is being related to your what? To your research topic. You don't just go and start writing something that is not what? Have no relevance to your what? To your research topic. Next is what? The execution of the what? The research is the research. You carry on your research, and in executing the research, we have the data collection, we have the data processing and analysis, interpretation of results, discussion and conclusion. Now, when you're talking about the data collection, uh, data collection has to do with, like we discussed earlier in the key features, one has to getting the information which he will be using, in solving the research problem. And this data collection, it can either be in numeric, or it can be in words. And we, like I've said earlier, there are instruments which you make use of: the questionnaire, the experiment, the education. These are instruments which one use in collecting data. Then the data processing analysis is what? Interpreting this data which one have collected. And then the discussion and conclusion, you talk of what you have found and giving out recommendations, and finally saying what you think can be a best way to address that research which one has have an issue on. Next slide, please. Then next slide is a overview of health research method. Now, in overview of health research method, we will be discussing it in 4 stages. First, you have to do with the definition of the health research method. Now, in defining health research method, I said this is a systematic process to resolve a health research problem through data collection, interpreting the data collected, using various techniques, and drawing a conclusion about the health research finding from the data collected. Next is the approach to health research method. Next slide, please. Now, under the approaches to health research methods, they are being divided into three, which is we have the qualitative, the quantitative, and the mixed. Now, first, when you're talking about the qualitative, which is also known as the naturalistic, now this involves the using of method such as interview, uh, interviewing, more of face-to-face interaction, observation. In the observation, you are kind of taking, understanding some changes of behavior. And in this qualitative research, the approaches seeks what to understand the quality of a data, and it is being done within a small, large population area, not in a large place. And and most of the times the data involves are in form of what? In form of words. And for instance now, when one want have to gain an interest why some certain behaviors are being done. For example, now I want to understand why do people fear to collect the COVID-19 vaccine. Now this kind of what you introduce what? The qualitative what? Research approach. Then next is what? The quantitative. Now this quantitative is based on measurement of what? Quantity or amount. one of use, which and data collected in this kind of form or what they are numeric in nature. One makes use of instruments such as the questionnaire, the experiment, which are used in what in collecting data. And this kind of approach is what it's aimed in providing unbiased estimate of what para parameters, and it involves what a large scale of what population when carrying out this kind of uh, research. Next is what the mixed, and this mix involves the both the qualitative and the quantitative. And in this kind of situation, it deals with what comparing the both. Uh, for instance, now in a situation whereby you have a prevalent rate of a certain issue, so the kind of method you apply there has to do with what numeric, which is quantitative. And maybe the next what you want to know what what people think about why is the prevalent of that, which is what you introduce what the qualitative. So in this kind of research, you are trying to give a comparison about the two. So here that is the mixed research approach. Then next is what the steps in writing health research paper method. Now, you don't just start writing health, but there are some steps one need to apply in guiding him in writing that. Now, the first step is what introduce your method. Now, the method you use to investigate it depends on the kind of research problem at hand. And like I've said in the approaches, there is either you make use of what the qualitative or the quantitative or the mix. So it depends on what the health research problem at hand. That will determine your method which you are going to use. Then next, what you establish methodological connections. Now, when you're having a health research topic whereby it has to do with you make use of quantitative approach, and everything you are trying to use you are introducing qualitative, then definitely you will not get what you are looking for. Your research will be boy, and everything you'll be doing it won't end at what at a result which you want to achieve. You won't have the aim of that research paper. The objective of that research will not be achieved. So one need to establish that is your topic should match with what with the method you are going to make use of. Then next is what you introduce your instrument. Now introducing an instrument, what these are what you will use in collection of what of your data. Now, like I said initially, when you are going to make use of what quantitative, you make use of what the questionnaires, observation. These are the kind of instruments you are going to use. When you are using qualitative, you make use of what interviews. Now, it depends on the kind of what the method you are going to use. Then that will determine the kind of instrument you are going to use in carrying out your research. Then next is what you discuss your analysis in the steps of writing the research paper. You discuss your analysis after you collected your data. You discuss your analysis. You interpret what you have found in that result which you have collected. Then next, what you provide background information. Now, providing a background information. Not many people will actually carry your research and read it, but not everyone would actually understand what you are trying to do. So you provide a background information, more of that, giving an introduction to what you are doing. Now, when you are going to use a what a qualitative, you give a background information why you are using that. So this is all about the background information. Then discuss the sampling process. This explains the reason behind your sampling procedure or your choice of method. For instance, if you are going to make use of an interview, you should discuss why you are going to make use of what the interview and why the selection was done in that way which what you conduct your your sampling process. Then next is what you address the research limitations. Now, in carrying out research, one will definitely encounter some challenges. So that is about what you trying to give an explanation about the difficulties which you find. Such difficulty, please, it should not be what it should not be thrown away, but it should be looked into consideration, because it will help any researcher which want to make more research about your research. So it will help you on how to avoid such kind of what challenges in the nearest future. Then our next one is what to do, how what to avoid in writing the method for the research. Now, one, what you avoid including irrelevant details, things that does not actually matters in your research. You should what one should avoid them. Then do not do away with problems that could arise during the data gathering process. This addresses much of what the research limitation which we discussed in our steps. So this will help and will give a hint and a guide to anybody that have interest to carry out more research about this topic. Next slide, please. The next slide is about ethical consideration. Now, ethical consideration, these are what when you're talking about ethics has to do with what doing things right. Now, ethical consideration, these are things these are doing the right thing in what in carrying out a research. You've seen it how some people lost their PhD because they didn't abide with ethical considerations in carrying out a research. So now here I say these are what fundamentals that direct what research and practice what in carrying out a research. And in this it helps in safeguarding the right of a research participant, improve research validity, and sustain scientific integrity. So these are benefits of this ethical consideration. Then next is what types of research method. Now, when you're talking about types of research method, we have it based on the type of what? Based on the type of data. Now, when you're talking about based on the type of data, we have the quantitative, the qualitative, and the mixed. Now, we've discussed what the quantitative, the qualitative, and the mixed. Mixed, when you're talking about the quantitative, has to do with getting data based on what? Numeric. Uh, when you're talking about the qualitative, getting data based on what? Forms of what? Mix has to do with the comparison of their of the both. Then next is what based on availability of what data. Availability of data are classified either primary or secondary. When you're talking about the primary, that is what your is the data that's been originated by what? By the researcher. It's not using it or getting it based on previous research. Now, when you're talking about the secondary, is what are data which are originated based on what? On the previous research. Um, Next, which is based on research settings, we have the public health and the clinical. Now, when you're talking about the public health, it involves what? Generally, your environment. Carrying out research basically on the environment, everything that has to do with the environment, maybe causes, the spread, and everything. Then when you're talking about the clinical, is specifically within a clinical, within a hospital or within a laboratory. That is the clinical, trying to make findings about maybe a certain patient in a clinical way. Then the next is what based on the study design. Now, based on the study design, we have the what? The health economics. Now, this health economics has to do with trying to make research that has to do with creating policies. Policies what? Policies changes that what they are policy makers. This allows for what is systematic and rigorous explanation on how to face or how to fix a problem that has to do with a health and how to promote healthy life living. And this has it actually complete the approach of what the qualitative and the quantitative approach of health research method. Then next is what the epidemiology. Now the epidemiology is with what distribution and determinant of what health related state of event or what or populations in the specific population and the application of how to what prevent and control a health research problem. And also this one also it involves approach either qualitative and what and the quantitative at the center, which is how to do with observation and what experiment. And this epidemiology, which is further classified into three. We have the cohort and we have the the case control, and we have the cross sectional. Now, when you're talking about the cohort, has to do with the type or whereby a group of people within having a common characteristics, um, and it's being followed over time, whereby the health outcome is within a common people. This is something that they have the same characteristics, and the interest of that outcome either depends on based on disease, event, death, or change in health of status behavior. Then, when you're talking about the case control, this study is in which what two existing group what have been identified, and each is given a trial on it, not like the cohort whereby it's just the same procedure is going to apply to them. Then the cross sectional is analysis data from a population or representation of some certain group of persons. Then the next is what is the clinical trial, still under the studies now, which is the clinical trial, and this is a type of research which involve what testing the safety and efficacy of what new drugs or medical device. And this trial are being done on basis of what observation and what intervention, and this has to do with phases of this clinical trial, phases of 1 to 4. Phase 1 has to do with a small group, carry a clinical trial small group. Phase 2 has to do with carry on a larger, more scale. Then phase 3 has to do with what you gather more information. You gather the information from that trial which you carry out on the phase 1 and phase 2. Then the last phase, which is the phase 4, has to do with what getting an approval from the FDA on how by introducing it now to the larger community. Then next is what the use of internet. Use of internet is a study that whereby internet has actually connect us globally now, and the use of internet it helps in what there are some papers which are being published. So those such kind of papers which are established, one can use them to generate this one research problem, or one can use them to have more findings. And also using the internet, you can get information through people by sending email to them, whereby you write your questionnaires and you send you a feedback, or maybe through a social media whereby you send something to them, and they will give you back your response. Then next is what the systematic review. And systematic review is a summary of the medical literature review that is used to explain some critical situation and synthesis on a specific issue. And systematic review is done based on what? Based of evidence, and the evidence was to give rise to the research question, and also it serves as a reading document to clinicians to give them more knowledge, more insight on how to go on with giving adequate treatment to people. Then next is was the survey, and the survey has to do with the collection of information from a sample of individuals, and it's further subdivided into the exploratory, descriptive, and the explanatory. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Hello. Okay. Then the next slide is what the uses of health research method. Now, it improve the healthcare settings system. Yeah, because how? Well, when there's a certain problem, once that research is carried on, it give finding, it provides solutions on how to stop it and improve healthcare settings. Then it creates new knowledge and finding to develop more on the existing one. This is straightforward understand, and it provides the use of evidence-based diagnosis and treatment of disease. This is how to do related to to our systemic study design, which is I say based on evidence, and it's what gives more knowledge to a clinician. Then next is what it provides evidence for policies and decisions on health and development, and this related to health economics, whereby based on the study design by the what they give us policies. Conclusion: it is through research, new discoveries are made, the introduction, development, and interpretation of the research. These discoveries are central to achieving the goal of extending the quality of health lives to the society. Health research methodology is a way to systematically solve research problem in health by researching on the causes of disease, method of prevention, and approaches to treatment, and it shows to have improved the health sector. It is necessary for health researchers to know research methods and techniques to be used to address the problem. Next slide. These are my references. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Sabuda. Thank you for that presentation, which is self-explanatory. And I would have given a summary of the presentation, but I guess everyone in attendance has understood what he has taught. And because of the respect we have for the elections holding in Nigeria today, we are going to say that our discourse should be in written form. So if you have contributions or you have questions to ask, I will beg you to drop them as texts in the chat box so that the presenter can respond to them. Once again, thank you, Mr. Sabuda S. Adamu, for that wonderful, wonderful, and insightful presentation. It is our hope that the ideals of the presentation would embellish our practice, our policies, our teaching, our learning, and will color everything that you do. I want to thank everyone who has crafted out this little time to attend Oraposium 26.0. And I would like to say that I appreciate you, and your presence means a lot to us. That you are present here today shows your commitment to the cost of the organization. It shows your commitment to the advancement of healthcare in your country and in the world. Thank you, and thank you, everybody. Bye.